Hey, what's going on, Team Trek family? Welcome back to another episode. In the studio tonight, we've got a really special guest. We've been talking a lot about healing and tools we can use to heal. So tonight I brought in a specialist, Liv Aguillard, and she is a
Regular.
master Reiki. She's a energy healer with a career in health and wellness, and we're blessed to have her here. And before I let her get too far into her story or anything like that, we have a gift from Team Trek for her. So there you are, Liv.
Thank you.
Very happy to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Drink my morning matcha in this.
Awesome. It looks good. So
Love it. Thank you so
it's
much.
got a little writing on the back. What's that say?
With a sense of belonging, suicide will never be an option.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. All right, Liv. So I'll let you kind of set that to the side. Um, I'm really excited. I purposefully did not research
Reiki.
Reiki. So I really don't have a background. I have no idea in it. And when we started to talk the other day, you wanted to tell me and you were ready to explain it. And I asked you, can you please come on the podcast so we can get it knocked out? You only have to say it once. And then this gives all the viewers at home an idea of what's possible using this healing process. So
Mm-hmm.
do you mind starting at childhood though? Just kind of let us know where you're from so our
Okay.
viewers have an idea of who you are, Liv.
Kind of how I got into it.
Through everything. Absolutely. Tell us
Okay.
who you were as a kid though too.
So I grew up on a horse ranch in South Louisiana. I'm a baby of, I have three older brothers. My mom had three boys in 3 years. I grew up with my mom on the ranch. My brothers were in and out. They lived with my dad. I had a very traumatic childhood upbringing. I lived with my mom on the ranch. She didn't have a lot of money. We had to work really hard outside in the heat, taking care of trying to make money off of the land. She was a fitness instructor, so she had to do what she could do to maintain the land. And my brothers lived with my dad, and I didn't really have him physically or emotionally growing up in my life. It was just me and my mom most of the times. So I can't remember a lot of my life. I don't remember many, many years. I just remember very snippets of it. And I come from a very spiritual family. My family has churches in South Louisiana, kind of by the New Orleans area. A lot of my family are ministers and pastors and travel around and teach and heal people. So I kind of always, I always had a very deep spiritual understanding and, going within myself, the way that I grew up. I didn't really hang out with people growing up because there was so much going on. My three brothers became drug addicts at a very, very, very young age. So I was a young child just observing everything going on around in you know, my day to day. I was isolated on the ranch. I spent my days there. And with that being said, I was always an empath. I always was feeling people's emotions. I was the only female in the family, the youngest child, just watching everything. I didn't have a good connection with my mom when I was growing up with her, and I realize that now because she has a lot of trauma herself, and she couldn't emotionally be there for me as a child. It was just impossible, and I understand that now. And we've healed and we've had an amazing relationship since. I love her to death. And I'm healing the relationship with my dad and my brothers, and I think that I was always naturally a healer. I've just had it in my blood. And I really, really got into my spirituality when I was in about 17 to 18 because I graduated high school early. I moved out of the house when I was 17, went to college, and just lived on my own, trying to find myself within and calm my central nervous system so that I could start to remember my life because I didn't remember my life. I was anxiety ridden and I didn't have a support system. I didn't have family around because my mom was dealing with her own stuff. Yeah, I really got into deep, deep, deep into spirituality around that age. I started reading a lot of self-help books, mental health books. And what really triggered me was studying Native American spirituality because
Mm.
it resonated with me the most growing up on the ranch. I spent most of my life outside. We didn't have AC for years growing up, so I was just outside all the time. And I believe that is how we connect with God. You know, we're earth beings here on earth. That's what connects us to our spirituality is earth. And so studying Native American traditions really opened me up to being able to connect the dots of why it makes sense for me and for us as human beings. So I got into that and I had a couple different kind of spiritual awakenings at a young age. I started working in the fitness industry. My mom's always worked in the fitness industry. I was always an athlete, so I really really believed in the physical outlet of your mental health, of having a physical outlet. But I wanted to combine, you know, physical, spiritual, emotional, like it's all intertwined, it's all interconnected. I started working in the fitness industry at the time, reading lots of books, and it helped put me on that trajectory of my another spiritual awakening happened years after, you know, really diving deep into reading and going within myself. And from there, dealing with different people's energies all day, working a gym all day. I was a personal trainer, I was a manager, a regional manager, so I had employees underneath me. It was a lot of energy exchanges and it was a lot to deal with. And anytime someone came to me as a face of a gym, you know, they might be pissed off at their account or having a bad day, and then they come in and I didn't know I was working with energy at the time because I would just imagine like my presence calming that person down and being that light in that person's day and killing someone with kindness. And I would just imagine like a pink aura around that person and, you know, basically doing energy work without even being a practitioner, just part of being an empath and being spiritually connected. So that's kind of how it started. The way that I got into Reiki specifically is going to be when we moved to Texas. And you know, COVID happened shortly after we moved to Texas, and I just was journaling a lot, reading a lot, painting a lot. I started having all these creative outlets, meditating a lot. I would meditate, you know, every day. I mean, what else could anyone do at that time?
Sure.
Spend time in nature. I was in time in nature as much as possible. Um, and I started going to a metaphysical shop that opened up in our small town. Me and my boyfriend Hunter did a meditation class with two Reiki master teachers there. They asked everyone's experience after the meditation class, and we were like the only people to speak up that we had these physical sensations when we were meditating. And the Reiki master teachers that are there kind of looked at each other and they're like, y'all are energy workers. Like, y'all are spiritually tapped in. I was like, okay, awesome. Kind of already knew that. Like, love this part of, you know, the spiritual, physical, mental, all being connected. It's always resonated with me so, so deeply. And kept going to those. I actually got my first Reiki session because I was wanting to heal myself. Like I said, I couldn't remember a lot of my life.
Sure.
Had a lot of hormonal issues, and I know your body keeps score of trauma. It holds in your energy field.
That's right.
So I really wanted to get on a field of healing my sacral, my feminine, everything like that. I had ovarian cysts that ruptured inside of me even at a young age. So it's been quite a journey. So for me to get off of birth control and be natural, I really had to prep myself for years before that. Like I knew I was gonna get off of birth control, but I wanted to be like physically and mentally and emotionally ready to go through those uncomfortable changes, to have that breakthrough, to have that transformation. So I started having Reiki sessions performed on me. And my Reiki master teacher, she would do sessions with me and she would, you know, talk to me at the end and say, hey, like I really do think you're an energy worker. I have a very strong feeling, you're very receptive, your energy is different. And I don't just say that to most people like who are on my Reiki table and I'm trying to help them heal,
Sure.
but you're a powerful being. And then another thing that really spoke to me is that she had a vision of me during a session of me as a little girl holding hands with my pawpaw, who is like a minister of ministers. He's the head of our spiritual family in Laplace, Louisiana. and she had a vision of me holding his hand in front of a white church. And then she had another vision of me in another session where she saw me walking in the woods and being a healer of a tribe. And I had another reading done by another spiritual person the year before on my birthday. So around the same time that I got off of birth control the year before. And it was a completely different reader. She didn't know any history about that. And she spoke to me in my reading and said, "You are very spiritually tapped in because of your ancestral line." She didn't know about my family. And she said, I believe with your energy, you're a trailblazer. Like you're here to help heal your significant people in your family and keep that trajectory going because you and your family, your generation is tapped in. And I was just like, oh, whatever. Like, everyone's gonna say this spiritual woo-woo stuff when you get a reading.
Sure.
But it was all the signs and all the different scenarios leading up to it. And then my Reiki master teacher now was like, hey, I've got Reiki 1. I was telling her about how I have experiences with people in the gym, how, I'm doing a personal training session or I'm doing a consultation with someone and someone would get on a really, really deep level with me and just crying in the gym with me. And so I knew I was an energy worker in some way. I
Sure.
wasn't certified in anything. And it really got to a point before I got off my birth control where I'd go in public and it was happening so much. I'd be at a random place in a bathroom and a girl would stop and she would say, "I don't know you, but my anxiety is gone around you. Like I feel so at peace being around you." And it was strangers saying that to me. It was friends of my significant other that were saying that to me, their girlfriends. So that's when I kind of knew that like I did obviously something was going on with my energy for random people to feel a pull and feel a connection and feel open and feel like they're in a safe space to communicate with me. So I think years of that and then plus going to meditation classes with someone in this field who was like, hey, like I think you need to hone in on this. Like you do have a bigger purpose and I can feel that. So I went and got my Reiki 1 certification, which is all about self-healing and healing yourself, opening yourself up to your energy points in your field. And then, which is crazy going back to the Native American spirituality. Native Americans are really strong believers. And, when you do get a tattoo, especially of like an animal, every animal, there's a spiritual message behind that animal. And I didn't realize it until after I got my Reiki 2 certification. I had gotten this raccoon tattooed on me. It's got several meanings, but I had a big epiphany after Reiki 2 because the spiritual message for a raccoon is a healer through their hands. And that's what Reiki is. Reiki is an energy practice that focuses on your energy points within your physical field and the practitioner is using their hands. They're a conduit for universal life energy. That's what Reiki means. Reiki means universal life energy. And so it is a healing modality through touch, getting into a meditative state, which was so crazy that I got this tattoo after I was like, oh my gosh, wow, that I didn't even realize that when I got it tattooed. I got it tattooed for different reasons. So it would just naturally happened, and I got my Reiki 2 and Reiki 3, my master level, for the pure um, dedication of just helping heal others. Not because I wanted to get in a studio and pay rent and charge people $100 an hour and that be like what I do for my career. Because my career is in the fitness industry. And so that's what led me into wanting to have the certification because I'm already doing it on a smaller level.
Sure.
And if I can get the knowledge and wisdom to tap in and give a different modality and help others, I think it's a super, super powerful thing. So that's what led me here. It was unintentional, but there was a lot of signs and points that directed me into getting the certification.
Okay, no, it's super interesting and
Mhm.
great story, great roll up of your childhood. So, do you mind if we just kind of hit a couple of points there?
Yeah.
So you mentioned your 3 brothers are back to back to back. Now, what
Yeah.
kind of separation was in between you and them?
So the reason why we are so different is
No, I mean age wise. I'm sorry.
oh, age wise. So the youngest brother is 4 years older
Okay.
than me, then 5, and then 7. So yeah.
So there was enough of an age gap there
Yes.
to where it was more you and your mom and the boys with their dad or with
Yeah.
y'all's dad.
So my parents got divorced at a very, very young age. And it was a very, very traumatic divorce. Lots of trauma there. And they went and lived off with my dad. He moved different states. I would see him like once every 6 months to a year. So he wasn't physically or emotionally, he had a lot going on in his life. And he had my brothers. And so it was just me and my mom. And so she was just a fitness instructor. You don't make a lot of money in the fitness industry. It's something you do because you're passionate about it. So we had to work the ranch and work the land to actually keep the ranch and the land. So we had to board people's horses, do kids' birthday parties. So we were working every day out in the field.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask what kind of work on the ranch y'all were doing. So I know you said that.
Yeah, so she boards people's horses there. We have her own animals and then she boards other people's horses. So every morning and every evening we're having to feed and water horses, donkeys, there's dogs, we had goats at some point. You're mending fences because it is a business. It's not just her horses. People pay her. Some people do overnight boarding or they do long-term boarding. So yeah, there's always work to be done on a ranch, especially when it's a working ranch with animals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you said even though you grew up with your mother, you didn't really say you had much of a relationship growing up. You guys weren't close.
Yes. So we've talked about this a lot, me and her. She's been going to therapy, seeking a bunch of different healing modalities her whole life, reading, journaling like crazy. She worked like 3 jobs at the
Yeah.
same
Jeez.
time. Yeah, she
You're
wasn't
straight.
physically available because of that. And she wasn't emotionally available because she was dealing with so much trauma. I mean, she could write 10 books on everything she's been through. Like trauma starting even before the terrible divorce and
Mhm.
separation happened. She was adopted and then her adopted family abandoned her, and then she has no family, and then her husband abandoned her, and then he had all the brothers. So yeah, she had basically felt like she lost her kids, her family. She didn't know her biological family. And she knows that, and we've talked about it a lot. She tells me she's sorry all the time. She tells me she loves me, but your mental state, most people who don't understand mental illness or just being in a bad mental state in general affects it ripple effects at every area of your life, every area. And so yeah, we were just both going to a very dramatic time together, and she's a completely different person now because she's dedicated decades to healing herself.
No,
So
that's great to hear. You mentioned her traumas, right?
yeah.
And one of the things that we talk about a lot is trauma is generational. You pass your traumas down to your kids. It just happens.
Mhm.
You don't intend to, but just like what you're talking about now, she didn't intend to pass these on, but
Mhm.
that's how it happens. So I'm really happy to hear that she's getting help because it's never too late to get help. I mean, we're still here, and that's what we're doing is trying to show tools, just ways to exercise exactly what you're talking about and find those outlets.
Mhm.
Okay, so Reiki's energy, it's moving energy.
Yes. So you want me to give you a backstory on Reiki?
Expand.
So again, just to start this, Reiki is an energy healing form that focuses on the energy points of our body. Because if you think about anything in this room, this microphone, this couch, if you take a microscope to something, everything is a cell, and the science behind that is every cell is vibrating at a certain level, even though we can't see it. So we're all vibrating at a certain level. Like there's frequencies all around us. I mean, radio signals connecting to radio. So Reiki is connects to universal life energy. There's energy everywhere. So it really focuses on the person's energy points in their body. So trauma does get stored in the body. We know that, mental illness manifests as physical illnesses in our lives. There's autoimmune diseases that you get directly from cortisol in your body, from high stress levels in your body. It just ripple effects into all that. So, Reiki is a healing modality that started hundreds of years ago from Usui. Usui was a spiritual seeker who studied Buddhism and Christianity hand in hand, which I grew up Christian, super Christian. Obviously, my family has churches, but I was always open to like, there's so much more like Jesus walking the earth, like he loved everyone. His teachings were more than just about being very strict black and white. There obviously has to be more to the spiritual realm. So Usui did study Christianity and Buddhism. He went on a 21-day meditation and fast in the mountains by himself. On day 21 of his fast meditation, he had these spiritual downloads through Christ consciousness, all these symbols that came through in a very, very deep meditative state. And this was day 21 of fasting that he had this. And he actually was going, he had all these visions of these symbols and these mantras, and he went go down, he's in Japan, and he went down a mountain and injured himself, and he's like he wanted to see if all these visions and things that came to him in meditation, okay, let me test it and see if it's real, because he broke his leg going, I don't know if I mentioned that,
No.
he got injured going down the mountain. It was either his leg or something. Got injured and got into a meditative state and started using the symbols over and over again, saying the mantras, and he healed himself to go down the mountain. And he was like, oh shit, this stuff is powerful. Like, I've no food or anything. I'm on the top of this mountain and I just healed myself enough, really focusing in on my body. Is your mind, I mean, there's so many great things that connect to Reiki. That's there's also a documentary called Heal Yourself on Amazon that talks about so many different modalities of how strong your mind can be with visualization and meditation, getting into a meditative state. So that's where the teaching began. And he had some people, they became masters of Reiki too, channeling in that energy, using it on people, and brought it to the United States. And now it's a worldwide energy form. So basically, during a Reiki session, you would lie down on a table, you'd get into a meditative state. I play spiritual music in the background. I use sound bowls, getting frequencies going. I get myself into a meditative state. I ground myself. I connect with God. I connect with Christ consciousness. And I use myself as a conduit and say, I'm just here, use me as a vessel, providing a safe, sacred space for this person to help heal them. So obviously, no one can just go around just touching someone and healing someone. You are helping that person get out of that fight or flight so that they can use their mind, use their body to help heal themselves. Miracles can happen, but you have to be in that mindset, in that frequency, to be able to receive that. So it's a beautiful thing. It focuses on your chakra points in your body. So there's 7 chakra points. Do you want me to give you a?
Please.
Okay. So your root chakra is at the bottom of your torso area. There's a couple different ways that there's different physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects that connects to each chakra point. So your root chakra is connected to your groundedness, your security, your basic needs like home, shelter, food. It's also correlated through ages 1 through 7. So a lot of times when people have trauma in their developing years, those first years of life, your first root chakra, your first energy center in your body, this is related to feeling grounded and feeling safe. So a lot of people who are like, I never had a safe home or a safe space. This can manifest physically as anxiety, insecurities, financial instability, because our root chakra connects us to our physical being. It's the first thing we ever experience as a human. So that's the first energy point, is your root chakra. Then your sacral chakra is right around where your reproductive organs are. It's right above the root chakra. Sacral chakra is correlated to your 7 through 14. So sometimes that can trigger a sacral chakra problem. Sorry. The sacral chakra is all about, sexuality, pleasures, creativity, things like that. So when you have trauma related to those things, or even in that age correlation, this can manifest physically as like sexual dysfunction, lack of creativity, lack of just, being who you are as a person, that creative outlet, expressiveness. So that's your sacral. It's typically correlated to the color orange. And then your solar plexus is right above that. It's kind of above your navel. So your solar plexus is going to directly correlate to self will, self power, self discipline, who you authentically are as a person. And when people, and this correlates to age 14 through 17. So it goes up in stages on trauma. If you have trauma triggers in those ages, it can affect that energy point in your body. So what this can manifest, your solar plexus can manifest as you lack of self-expression, insecurity in who you are as a person, not wanting to put yourself out there, being a big people pleaser, stuff like that. Your heart chakra is right above that. Your heart chakra obviously is going to be correlated to love, compassion, being an empath, that kind of thing. That's correlated through ages 21 or 17. What am I at? 1 through 7, 7 through 14, 14 through 21, and 21 through 28 is your heart chakra. So your heart chakra, when this is out of balance or you have trauma with your heart chakra, this can look like loneliness, bitterness, having low self-esteem in relationships, that connection with people, because your heart chakra is, love is the highest frequency that anyone can express. No matter what your religion is, love is at the focus of religion. So I think your heart chakra is the most important, can transmute anything, positivity, love, putting that out there. That's my favorite one to go back to. And then your throat chakra is right above that. Your throat chakra obviously relates to your voice. Your throat chakra is very important because it connects all of your physical energy aspects to coming out into the physical world, into connecting you to your spirituality. So we're all about communication and clear expression of your thoughts and who you are. Obviously, if you have throat chakra problems, we have bad listening problems, bad speaking problems. You don't feel like you have clear communication, anything. You don't feel like you can find the right words to say. It can also manifest as physical thyroid problems too, heart problems. So if you have like physical illnesses, it could be from not healing in that area, and so it manifests into that energy point. So a lot of people will have thyroid issues because of a throat chakra. And then your third eye, a lot of people are kind of vaguely familiar with the third eye. The third eye correlates to intuition, wisdom, imagination, inner self, inner vision. So it brings you inward into your body, into your soul, instead of your physical body. It brings you into who you are in the inside. So when people have an imbalance in their third eye, they're not intuitive, they're confusion, they're foggy brain, they can't think right. It's directly related to your pineal gland, which that's like a whole another thing within itself. If you want to get into the science behind the third eye, the pineal gland. And then lastly, you have your crown chakra. And so your crown chakra, it directly relates you to Christ consciousness, directly relates you to the cosmos, to spiritual essence. So when you have an imbalance in your crown chakra, you feel loneliness, you feel a lack of purpose in your life. Like, what's the point of living? We're just going to die. There's no spiritual realm after this. So that directly relates you to who you are in your spiritual being and not your physical realm. So, sorry, that was a lot.
Don't apologize. That was amazing. That was a really good rundown. You mentioned the pineal gland, so science behind that. What are we talking about with that? With the third eye and something about the pineal gland?
So this directly relates to, your soul versus your ego, things like that. Like your ego is very materialistic. We're worried about what's physically related to us, where obviously there's people who don't even believe in spirituality at all. They're not tapped into there's anything beyond this physical realm. And that is going to be the thing that connects our intuition, our brain to, like, obviously we are connected to God. We're connected to whatever you believe in, Jesus, universe, spiritual essence, the unknown creator, whatever, however you look at it, whatever religion. Everyone talks about prayer, going within, breathing and speaking that out into the world, connecting your mind to physical realm. So a lot of people can have like neurological issues if they have like a blocked pineal gland as well. So it's pretty interesting how your mental state is directly correlated to your physical state, which is why when people are like, I don't know why I'm having anxiety, my heart's racing, I'm sweating, I can't control these physical symptoms, it's because your mind is all over the place and you can't quiet your mind to allow your body to relax. So if you're ignoring your mind and your thought processes and things that are going on, it's that fight or flight essence that gets pushed throughout your body. So you're going to start having these physical reaction. So a lot of people's health issues are directly related to having high cortisol levels in their body. And so not controlling those high cortisol levels will manifest in all different kinds of health issues, which a lot of times it kind of goes back to if you're having issues within that year of that sacral chakra, or within those aspects, those emotional, mental aspects connected to those energy centers, it'll manifest as some kind of disease correlated with that part of your body. So yeah, that's my take on that.
No, it's really interesting that you mentioned that, how it'll manifest into a disease, something along those lines. So you
Mhm.
take somebody that was that served during basically the last 20 years. They were deploying back and forth. They would go experience traumas, come right back, and they just kept stacking them up and just kind of tossing it in the back seat, right? And they never really, a lot of them anyway, didn't take the time to try to heal those things, right? And so people that experience a multitude of traumas back to back.
Just slapping a band-aid on it.
Okay, so how is talk us through how Reiki works
Okay.
to
So most people, like you say, they ignore it, they suppress it, they slap a band-aid on it, they take a pill from a doctor that calms those symptoms, but they're not actually healing the root problem to what caused these physical illnesses or mental illnesses. It's all, correlated in that aspect. So people taking medicines or just suppressing the feelings, not thinking about it, it's still in our subconscious. Your brain never forgets. We only use a very, very, very small percent of our brain. Everything's still there. So basically, the way that Reiki works is that you're focusing in on your breath, your energetic body, and your physical and spiritual vessel. So you lie down on a table, you get into a deep breathwork meditative state with that practitioner, and we focus on the energy points in your body. So I'll start at the base of the head, and I say my mantras in my head, I say my symbols in my head, I say Christ consciousness, please connect with me now, use me as a vessel for this person to receive this energy healing. And so I'll ask someone before a session, like,
Mm.
what is your intention with this session? Like, are you here to find peace, just to relax your central nervous system? Are you here because you're trying to heal something or you need clarity of something? Like, whatever you need, I'm here to create a safe space for you, because some people can't even get to that safe space because we live in such a fast paced life nowadays with the phones, technology, family, jobs, everything's so, so, so fast paced. And so people never slow down to actually breathe and relax and feel like, why am I having that thought? Well, why is that triggering me? What is correlating back to like why I get so emotionally wound up over one thing? Because we're not our emotions. We're the observer of our emotions. Our consciousness is just observing the thoughts in our head. And we are that bigger person that's just, hey, those are just, it's an emotional thought. It'll go away. I'm not that emotion. So people are so suffocated in that they never take their, I'm too busy to meditate, even though they might scroll on their phone for 5 hours a day, not even realize it. But they won't ever get into that safe space and calm their mind. A lot of people, they chew wound up.
Sure.
So during a Reiki session, that's what we do. We get into a meditative state, we breathe, we play spiritual music with different frequencies. I like using music that has frequencies as the earth. There's different kinds, there's
Okay.
different point of
If I wanted to go
frequency.
find somewhere, where am I looking?
What I would do, it depends on what kind of frequency you're looking for. There is more of a love frequency. There is a frequency for healing. There's a frequency for the exact beat of the earth. Let me get you a list on that. But
Yeah,
the best thing to do
post it.
is just to YouTube like meditation frequencies, and or even just having a Google search or a AI searched like what is the different benefits of the different frequencies to tap into.
Okay.
But it's pretty powerful stuff. And that's why people talk about putting your bare feet on the ground and grounding and connecting to the frequency of the earth, because we are connected to earth.
Right.
So grounding in itself is a whole nother way to look at tapping into those frequencies, and it's science based too as well. If you look into it, there's a lot of doctors who talk about the science behind putting your physical body on the earth. So definitely
Okay.
look into that.
Absolutely. You talked about, you mentioned it, yeah, kind of glossed through. You talked about downloads, right?
Hmm.
So when you're doing Reiki and what
What
is a
does that look
download?
like?
What
Yeah.
is a download?
So it's different for everyone. Some people have full on visuals. Some people have just physical sensations. They'll have tingling or warmth or sharp pain in a certain area. The way that I look at it is, there's a masculine and a feminine side of everything. There's a yin and yang energy to everything, which, even language goes down to that. So I'll focus on energy points on like if I'm leaning to the right or the left, like where's my body naturally going. Some people when they're getting into that meditative state, and I tell them in the beginning, just relax. Some people just don't feel anything, they just feel like they're meditating. Some people have releases and some people cry, some people fall straight asleep because all they needed is peace and quiet. So basically with the spiritual downloads, it could be different for anyone depending on how receptive you are and accepting of that. When it comes to a practitioner and they're getting an attunement, that is also having like a spiritual download. What an attunement is for a practitioner, it's basically the ceremonial process that you have with the Reiki master teacher. You get into a meditative state, you're saying these mantras, doing the Reiki energy symbols that Usui got on that 21-day meditation. And basically, you are opening yourself up to Reiki energy. You're pushing energy through all your energy points in your body, your 7 chakras, which is what I focus on someone I'm working on too. Is I'm not giving them an attunement. Attunement is going to be that ceremonial process for a practitioner. But I'm still focusing in on those points and like calling in Christ consciousness and light into this moment with that person, whatever their intention is. I'm really, really thinking about that intention and kind of creating that safe space. So I've had people have physical sensations in different points of their energy fields. And I was working on someone last weekend at a retreat, and it was actually another practitioner I was working on. And just to kind of correlate what happened, because it can vary session to session how someone experience that and what they see or feel and what actually happens during a session.
Okay.
So last weekend I was working on someone and I was barefoot out by the Llano River, listening to the water underneath a tree. And I have a lot of spiritual insight and connection to God through animals. I always have, getting into a meditative state, praying, and then I'll have this crazy animal experience. So it's just wild. So at the start of the session, I was leading her into breathing, just relaxing the body, releasing into the moment. Anything that happens or any visuals, just let them come and then go back to your breath. Just go back to the breath. And I started with the sound bowl. I would go over the sound bowl and all the energy points, and I would feel, the sound bowl even get louder and it was actually her solar plexus, which is the one that's related to the color yellow. It's right above the navel, and it's correlated to your self-power, your self-will, things along that line. But basically what happened with her is I started feeling my sound bowl was getting a lot louder at that point. I was like, okay, I'm going to focus in on that point and just see like what comes up. A lot of times my hands will get really, really hot when I'm focusing on an energy point on someone's body. And the craziest thing happened. Bright yellow bird came and flew into the branch that was right above her head that I was working on and just talked to us for like 5 to 10 minutes. It was insane, absurd. It was really crazy. And I was like, that bird is looking at us, talking to us. I go back over her sacral again, and then a yellow butterfly passes right next to my face on my right side as I'm on her right side. And then as I get to her feet, a yellow grasshopper pops. And as all this is happening, she's seeing, and she didn't tell me this till after the session. when the bird was going on and then I saw all the other yellow animals, she was seeing a yellow triangle in her mind's eye. She's like, I don't know why, a yellow triangle. And I said, you said yellow? And she's like, yes. And I told her all the things about her solar plexus and about all the yellow animals I saw. Right after that, she got a reading from someone and she pulled a card that had a yellow triangle, exactly what she saw in the Reiki session. And she's like, I don't know what this is. Like, God is trying to give me a message, like something correlated to this energy point in my body, like I need to work on. So yeah, you have that. To me, me as a practitioner, I have a lot of sensations. Like my eyes will flicker like crazy, and it's just because the energy going throughout my central nervous system. I'll feel heat, a lot of heat in my hands. I'll feel tingling, and I just go through the different areas of the body with the sound bowl. I'll have like all these chakra points, flowers laid out by their chakra points too. And it's pretty crazy. I do like to practice outdoors or even at my house with all my animals because the animals will actually like react to what's going on. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. And going back to the animals reacting, because I think that is a huge thing, is that's our connection to earth, to our spirit. Like there's animals everywhere. That's how we experience our spiritual messages from God. And I, like, for instance, I had a near death experience with Hunter this past year. And it was January 1st, and we were talking about, oh, this year we're going to go deep within, we're going to focus on ourselves, spend our days hiking, journaling, affirmations, like really thinking about what the life that we want to manifest and how we get there, right? We were hiking. It was that day. We had gotten so many invites from other members of the gym to come to our New Year's party. And we're like, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to hang out with each other, focusing on ourselves. We were on a hike. As we were saying this, we looked up and there was a baby hawk fly. And this is right before, actually, let me correlate this back to my Reiki practice. This is right before I got Reiki certified. And we saw a baby hawk and a mom hawk flying in circles above us as we're talking about this. And I was like, oh my God, Hunter, do you see that? Like there, and he's like, I haven't seen, and he's a hunter, literally, not just his name. And he's like, I haven't seen, this scenario of a hawk, like a baby hawk and a mom hawk watching, like flying in circles together. Right after that, we start walking with our dogs, and there's a butterfly and I'm outside like 80% of the time. I work from home, I'm always outside. And I saw this butterfly that I haven't seen before, and I was like, and he's just like, oh, whatever. I'm like, Hunter, this butterfly is following us. Like, as we're walking, it's like following us a good point of the way. And that was right after we saw the hawks. Then we get home to get into our truck to go to Austin for the night. And right above the truck was a squirrel like screaming at us, like over and over and over again and looking in our eyes. And I'm like, I look at Hunter, I'm like, Hunter, this squirrel is talking to, like, I'm telling you, I'm not crazy. And he's like, no, no, no. Like, he's definitely like chirping at us. Long story short, those three, we had that very deep, like, just spiritual conversation about who we are and what we want to do with our lives and how we want to connect with helping others, being of service, whatnot. We get into the truck and we went, it was, 6 o'clock. Fireworks started at midnight, right?
Sure.
And we were about to get into the truck. We walk out of a store and I say, no, let's go to the store right next. I want to go look in there. And as soon as I said that, we would have been in the truck at the time. We get in the doors, we just walk a couple steps, and gunshots, like so many gunshots. And we run to the back of the store, and we didn't even know what was going on. I thought it was fireworks. And we didn't realize that we got in our truck later, there was like 50 plus bullet holes all around. And I mean, we were on like a spiritual high that day. We were protected that day. Like we were talking about what we have a bigger purpose in life. Like we both are very spiritually connected in that, there is God is real, and that you have a bigger purpose in life. And seeing those messages from all the animals as we speak about that, and then we were seconds away from death. Anything, if we would have just got in the car, figured out where we were going next, or if I didn't say like, hey, let's go in there, it was crazy. And that was months before I got my Reiki 1 certification, because it just kind of all led up to that point. And that's why I like to perform with animals. And I know I just went on a whole tangent on that, but
No,
I do
it's
believe that that is how I connect, because growing up on a ranch, and we are animals ourselves. Like, so why wouldn't we be able to connect with other animals in that sense?
absolutely.
Very magical.
No, that makes perfect. What a great story.
Yeah,
And
we were seconds from death.
wow, did you ever find out what that was all about?
So it was the first store that we were in before we walked into the truck, and then we ended up going to the next store. There was a guy in there being like really loud on FaceTime, really obnoxious, in that store with us. And there was a car outside that was on, and Hunter had noticed it, like that the car was on and people were just sitting in the parking lot. And as we come out, the guy who was loud on FaceTime, he walked out and the shooting was on him. And he walked, and our truck was parked right in front of the front door.
Wow.
So when he walked out, like the whole truck got lit up.
Yeah, no doubt. There's you
Yeah.
guys are here for a reason,
Yeah.
and there's a the purpose there,
And at the same time, around that same time, my papa, who is like the minister of ministers,
right?
he had randomly, and I only see him a few times a year when I go to Louisiana for the family, and we all get together as a family. And he had texted me like a huge paragraph around that time, like after it happened, about like, the meaning of my real name and what it means, the spirit, like in the Bible. And he's correlating it to all that. He's like, I believe that you, and I journaled about this because I was like, what the hell? This is so crazy. He said something along the lines of like, I pray for you every day. And I know that like you are meant to work with the Holy Spirit. Like your whole life is going to be revolved around working with the Holy Spirit. And I was just like, wow, that was insane. Like he must have had a moment, like he was tapped into his prayer, and he texted me late at night. And he's like 80 something years old. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's texting me this whole paragraph about like my spiritual purpose in life. And that was around the shooting, and it was around my Reiki. And then my Reiki teacher had that visual of me holding my papa's hand, which was even crazier when I got that text message, because she had that vision when she was just working on me, when I was just like just someone who came in for a Reiki session. So I had a lot of peace. People were like, oh my God, are you scared? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, like I feel like that shooting was like very, very peaceful time for me, because I know I was spiritually protected, and like I have a greater purpose in life. And all the points of working with people in the fitness industry and all these people coming up to me, talking to me, who don't know me, but they can feel that pull and that
Right.
drive. I was like, I just have faith that that's what, and I think that's what we're all meant to be here for, is to find a way that makes sense for us to be in service of someone else.
I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. So, what would you say to people at home that are watching this that are thinking this sounds evil in any way, shape, or form? Right?
Crazy.
What would you say to them?
I tell them that it's not about this is not about religion. And if you are, or spiritualism in general, like witchy, a lot of people like, oh, you're like, I've lost people, think friendships, thinking that I'm like some kind of witchy person. I'm like,
Right.
no, like my whole like look on life is about spreading love and spreading, peace and joy, which is at the forefront of every religion. And so that's when it comes down to Reiki energy, is that it's an energy healing. It's the going into like the science of humans, and everything's on an energetic level. And that's what it's tapping into, is that energy in general. There's no, oh, it's for this religion, it's for that. And actually, which is super fascinating, during my Reiki master level, was that we had people who had completely different beliefs there. We had people who had very, very strong religious beliefs, people who were real spiritual, down to a girl there that was Catholic, like hardcore Catholic, which, they're like too strict to the point on, their beliefs, and to the Bible was just how it is to a T. But she is an energy healer, an energy worker. And even if you're someone who's very closed-minded Christian, that it's only one way, Jesus was the master manifester healer who walked this earth. Not that I'm Jesus whatsoever. He's on a completely different level.
Right. Just to
But
caveat.
it's just in that general cap that, that Jesus, even when he was walking the earth, he was speaking a spiritual message, and about love and peace, and having that that frequency is what his forefront of teachings were. And I think no matter what your religion is, that's the same message, is that, love and positivity and peace and connection, for humans is like the vital way of us living. I mean, for thousands of years, that's what we based our life on. I think it's the past just couple hundred years where there's so many things in our outer world that was not here for humans whole life on earth. And I think that just expanding yourself into something that doesn't have a very strong label on it. It's just, hey, this is, we're here, I'm together, I'm here with you. We're going to get into a very deep, relaxating state together. And I'm just going to provide a safe space for you to relax your central nervous system and be able to start to heal yourself, because your mind is very, very powerful. And that's basically how I would talk to them about it, is connecting to God and love and peace, and providing that space for someone to relax and be able to think, go into their inward, into their mental space.
I think you gave a great explanation of all that, and I thank you very much for coming. If somebody at home wanted to look into getting Reiki,
Mhm.
how would you look into it? What's the best way to find?
So there's a couple different ways you can do it. Like there's distance Reiki too, where that's actually part of a certification, is how to do just distance Reiki onto someone. My biggest thing is just finding someone who you can go in person, because actually being in person and having that hands on, and of course we ask you, are you okay with touch? It's light touch. We're pushing on points of your body, and being able to breathe and have a connection with someone to guide you through that, kind of like a guided meditation. Is more powerful. And then you have, the music, the sound bath, things like that. So I would just, search, at Reiki near me. I mean, it's very widely practiced now. Very, very widely practiced. And so you can definitely do distance with people. Distance would be the practitioner letting you know, like you're about to get into a meditative state. The session's going to start. What is your intention for this session? Please slow down and breathe with me as I tap in and try to provide that space for you. Some people do Zoom calls. My biggest thing would be get in person, because if someone walks to the room and they're super positive and just super bubbly, like you feel that no
You
matter who
do.
you are.
Absolutely.
And when someone's so gloom and gloom and so negative, like it changes the energy in the room. I don't care who you are. Everyone knows the effects of someone super negative or someone super positive. Like, oh, I love being around that person. They just change my mood. They brighten up the mood. So my best suggestion is doing Reiki in person, because it is a completely different experience to have that one-on-one connection with someone and be in that space created by the practitioner.
Great. Well, no, this is awesome. And again, I thank you very much. Um, if we can do anything to help you, reach out to anyone, anything like that, shout outs, anything like that, would you want to talk about the company you got certified through or
Yeah.
anything?
She's
Please.
amazing. So she has a business called Tart by Tara. She was like an art crafting studio. And she also does meditations, Reiki sessions. Her business has transitioned into Hill Country Hive in Lago Vista, and she's online. So she focuses on holistic products, meditation tools, holistic teas, tinctures, like wellness tinctures. So she switched her approach, because she also had that thing in a small country town where people are like, well, I'm Christian, I can't come to your store 'cause you learn that spiritual woo woo stuff. But it's really about overall wellness and, holistic in general, and just finding that where you feel you can tap into your body and what your body needs. So she sells all kinds of stuff online and in person.
Awesome.
Hill Country Hive, even like local bee honey and stuff like that.
No, that's awesome. We'll add some links in
Yes.
the description so we can help her out. Well,
Mhm.
Liv, thank you so much for coming on. We hope to see you again out here sometime.
Thank you.